Hey, Wade.
Morning, Rob. How's life treating you today?
Doing great, man. Doing really great. And I'm really excited because you know what, bro? I think one thing you and I have in common, aside from our dashing good looks, is our love for occult literature, books, tomes, grimoires, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And
You
you know
should
what?
see my front room.
I could just imagine half of your house is full of occult books left and right. I mean, my house is the same. But today, we're really, really honored to have such a gentleman of a guest who has educated me and probably thousands of other people on different books, practices, belief systems. It's without further ado, I just want to bring our guest of honor today. He is the founder of the Foolish Fish podcast on YouTube. He is a practicing magician, but he also pretty much puts books on the radar for people who like me would be too lazy to look them up myself. So this guy's a genius. And what I love about him, unlike other people, he speaks in English. What I mean by English is he doesn't give us nosebleeds with highfalutin terms. Very educational, easy to understand. He tells us the plus and minuses of the book, never puts books down. Without further ado, I am very honored to invite our guest of honor, Mr. Denis Poisson of Foolish Fish. Hello, Denis.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
An absolute pleasure it is to be here with you guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
It's an honor. And you know what? Foolish Fish has been my morning coffee for the past 6 months, okay? Because as an occultist, in ye old times, we see a book, and it's like, this looks interesting. We grab it, we spend 20, 40 bucks, and either we rejoice about the tomes that we found, or we live to regret it afterwards, right, Wade?
Well, everything's a learning experience, even if all you learned was crap.
Exactly. So Foolish Fish has become pretty much an institution on the YouTube channels of people who want to know more about books and even practices. I've seen that you've offered some interesting personal stories and practices. So we want to know what inspired you to start such an amazing periodical of occult literature?
It's a great question. While I'm answering, I'm going to plug my computer in because I've just realized that I'm running out of batteries, which is perfect live, isn't it?
We're so used to that.
But anyway, let me just answer the question very quickly first. It's looking like I don't even have my my charger over here with me. Great, good times. The thing that really inspired me was watching some YouTubers out there who had beautiful libraries. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I just wanted a beautiful library. And I thought to myself, well, I've got a couple of paperbacks here and it's just not going to cut it, The thing is,
green with envy with the background, but please continue.
Right. Well, my deep interest has since the age of 19 has been in the esoteric. I'm not going to say the occult because I only really got into the occult maybe I don't know. I'm going to say about 15 years ago. But the esoteric aspect of world religions was what really grasped my attention. I was really interested in the differences between the exoteric aspects of world religions, the aspects that people were latching onto and in fact following as their religion on the whole. And next to that, the kind of inner experiences brought on by religious experiences, right? And really the inner experiences that I could tell the texts that religions were based on were kind of pointing to. So that kind of got me interested. I got interested in Aldous Huxley. I got interested in Philip K. Dick. I then got a little bit interested in Ken Wilber and who else? Why am I not remembering his name? Wilson. Robert Wilson?
Robert Aniston Wilson.
That's the one. That's the one. That was my approach, and that was kind of the books that I had. But then I started looking into the occult, and they really had the best books. I visited Watkins Books in London. It was one of the places that I was pointed to, you know, go and check them out. And so I did, and I found just some of the most intriguing looking books ever. And so of course I had to get one or two, right? And this is more or less at the time when I started thinking, okay, I want a pretty library. And I was watching people on YouTube like Pontus Presents, and there's another channel just called Beautiful Books, and she had this entire collection of the Andrew Lang rainbow fairy books, right? The ones that I got behind me over here. I've only got a few of them, right? She had the full 13 book collection. It just looked incredibly cool, and she had a whole load of Barnes and Noble's books. So I just started with those. You know, they were kind of easily accessible, and I thought, do you know what? I kind of wish I could see them a little bit more close up before buying them, because I live in Poland. I can't just go into a store and buy these books for myself. So I'm kind of relying on pictures if somebody is considerate enough to post a picture online. So that's what I did. You know, I ordered the books and I had a look at them, and I thought, you know what? I think some other people might be interested in looking at these a little bit more close up. So I made my first video. Turned out people were interested. I beg your pardon?
Thank you for doing that. I mean,
oh, sure. Right. And for some reason, people were interested, right? So I continued doing that. And then I kind of ran out of mainstream books, and I was looking at the rest of my library going, do I show these? I mean, this is a little bit left field, you know, it's not what people are used to. It's not what people who've been following me so far have been following me for. But yeah, so here we go. So I posted a video on the Golden Dawn 7th edition, which I'd recently acquired, and yeah, you know, I was a little bit tentative with it. I was like, okay, this is a little bit strange, a little bit weird, but yeah, have a look. You might be interested. And the answers that I got, like the views went through the roof, and it was like, yeah, we want to see more of this. And other people were saying, you know, how could you be so dismissive of it? And I was like, I'm not really being dismissive of it. I'm just being tentative, because this isn't my normal audience. You know, it's not what my normal audience are used to. Many of them, bless them, followed me through it. But you know, as I focus more and more on the esoteric aspect of my library, and occult aspect of my library, just more and more people who were interested in that kind of area started to follow, and that's kind of become what I've been doing, right? Yeah. There you go.
So the way I'm hearing it was like you started by collecting these books, and then you went to the practical side of it. Am I correct?
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, if you see some of my earlier videos, you'll see the state of my library. You know, it's just a little Kallax bookshelf, and then, you know, over the past, I've been doing this for how long now? 4 years, maybe even more, maybe 5. I'm not even sure, but anyway, over that period of time, I've done my best to do at least 1 book review per week. Sometimes it's been 2, sometimes it's even been 3. That has been rare, and when that has been the case, it's mostly been picture books, you know.
Yes.
But yeah. So I receive I bought a lot of books, and then after a couple of years, the the publishers started getting in touch with me saying, listen, thank you very much for doing this. Can we send you the next one?
Wait, that gives us an idea, don't you think? I wouldn't mind 3 books.
So it was a little bit difficult because, in the beginning, pretty much anyone was sending me messages saying, hey, can you review my book for me? And so I said yes the first time, and I received this. It was awful. It was a children's book, which was illustrated by someone, who shouldn't really have been in the illustration industry, and it was horrible. And I spent a weekend formulating a letter to send to this person to say, listen, I'm sorry, I can't, keep my integrity and make a review on this, which won't destroy your business. So I'm sorry, I won't be reviewing this. And that's when I started saying, I'm sorry, no. If I've not been talking about it on my channel beforehand, if I've not featured the book on my news video, for example, then say again.
As if you haven't been talking about it, take the hint.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, we don't talk about that book. We believe in, if we have nothing nice to say, we say nothing at all. Which will bring me to my first question.
How come you haven't been reviewing my book? Well, I don't like to swear on my show.
Yeah.
Now, here's the next question I'm going to ask you. Actually, it's a 2-part question, okay? On a practical level, what book has been most influential to you as a magician that, like, this one got me from the guy reading the books to the guy doing the magic? Which one would you say it is?
You're asking me to choose one book? Well, let me go with an author, maybe. Mm-hmm. Well, it's Damon Brand.
There you go.
Who got me out of the couch. And a lot of people complain about the fact that I keep going on about Damon Brand and is he paying me and so on and so forth. Damon Brand is the only author that I feature regularly who has never got in touch with me. Let me
interrupt you. There was a urban legend going around that he was actually secretly Stephen Skinner. Did you hear about that one?
I know.
Tommy Kelly said that, is Damon Brand secretly Stephen Skinner? And I asked Stephen, he said, of course not. That's nonsense. I am not Stephen Brand.
Well, that's how you know it's true.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I posted under that video, that lovely episode between Tommy and Spud, my own thoughts on why that was very unlikely to be the case. Stephen Skinner is very much he's very Stephen's okay. He may disagree with this, but from what I've read of Stephen Skinner, he strikes me as a realist. In the sense, not in the common English use of that word, but in the philosophical use of that word. In other words, in my opinion, Stephen Skinner believes that the basic building blocks of the universe is material, is the atom, and that mind arises within the material world. Whereas I think that Damon Brand, on the contrary, holds the view that the world is, to use the words of the Kybalion, mental.
Right, yeah.
That the universe's basic building blocks is mind, mm-hmm. and that the material world arises within mind. His approach to magic is. So that's what we call idealism. Again, I don't like that word because in common English usage, an idealist is somebody who doesn't think straight, right? Who doesn't think, who doesn't have their feet firmly planted on the ground. But in philosophy, an idealist is someone who thinks that matter arises within mind. So Damon Brand is an idealist, and Stephen Skinner is a realist, or you could say a materialist, and so that's why I don't think they're the same. However, I have found similarities between Damon Brand and Jacobus Svart, who has been writing a fantastic series of books called, I can't remember exactly what the name is, but it's something to do with the shadow tree, something of the shadow tree. Anyway, many of the practical aspects of Damon Brand's works I've seen explained in Jacobus Svart's works. However, I have seen Damon Brand dismiss Jacobus Svart, and in fact, Jacobus has got in touch with me saying, "I'm definitely not him." You're
the owl between these guys. That's so amazing. Oh,
yeah.
How many of all these guys are just one person, though?
Yeah, right.
They're like,
They have different pictures and different names for their books.
I've seen a lot of Damon Brand's works, and what I like about it, he makes the work a bit more accessible. So, like, you're not going to get overwhelmed with all the stuff you need. But I've also noticed he's kind of got like this conglomerate of like the Gallery of Magic people. And I'm wondering, it's like, are they all one group? Are they all different names? Are they all, I mean, I don't know, but I like their stuff. And even the branding looks a bit similar. So I'm like, and I've never seen any videos of them yet, unless maybe I haven't seen it yet. But it'd be interesting to look into in the future. Now, this is going to lead me to my next question. Okay, since you're into the occult, there's always the old legends of the cursed tomes, the books. They're like, okay, I got my hand on this book, and then life starts getting what the fuck. Was there ever any time, as an archivist of the occult, that you got a book that just like, what the fuck, get this book out of my house? It's causing me a lot of weird stuff to happen.
It's a good question. I'm going to say that tended to happen much earlier on for me at times when I didn't really fully understand what I was dealing with because I hadn't read the books yet, right? I was receiving the books and the idea was to be exposed to them and to get a first-hand idea of what was going on here. But yeah, you know, when I first received my first ever Lemegeton, you know, with the Ascowetia and all of those sigils inside, you know, it's quite an impressive thing. You know, it's something you open it, it's like, this isn't what I'm used to seeing, kind of thing, you know, and life happens, you know, there are highs and lows and there are ups and downs, and sometimes you find yourself with luck and sometimes you find yourself with less luck. And the kind of less luck that I was experiencing around that time, I would go, I wonder if that book is something that I need to do something about, kind of thing, right? But then little by little, as I've been exposed to more and more books that would be considered wicked by many people, the more I've realized that really these books are what you make of them. When you have a book that clearly emanates an energy, that energy is coming from you. It's you know, it's I am an idealist. I do believe that the entire universe is supported by mind, right? That mind is the basis of all things, and I believe that my mind as my lower self's mind, right? My Denis Poisson's mind is a part of that, right? It's not just a part of that, but it's like my brain is a receiver for mind at large, and I experience a bit of mind at a time. And so when I experience some strong, I don't know, pushback or apathy, or on the contrary, it's like something that I like very much. I know that it's not necessarily because that thing out there is putting out that energy or anything like that, but rather because that's the way I experience it, and that personal experience has become a lot more central to the way I think about the books that I receive. I am going to go and get that charger. I'm sorry. I have to leave.
No problem.
30 seconds. Chat amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's like, so Wade, while we're waiting for Denny to come back, like, there's so much books out there. You know what I mean? And you're from the old school. You worked at Ancient Ways. And there was like the wall is from ceiling to floor with books. How would you, and remember back in the day, we were the broke motherfuckers. You know, it's like you got $50 and that's only like good for 2-3 books if we're lucky. What would be the screening process for you, Wade, before you'd select a book?
Well, I worked there. I got a 30% employee discount. I could basically buy books for wholesale. So, and I got to check them out. Like when new books would come in, we get a whole shipment of like the latest or the new releases. So I got to sit there in the back and check the books in. I'm sitting in the back reading books, flipping through. Oh, this is great. Okay, this one goes in the I'm taking home pile. But there were a lot of them that came through that, well, there was a lot that came out that we would look at that when we're ordering books and we're like, yeah, this looks like this is a 5-alarm dumpster fire. I'm not getting to order this book at the store. Or maybe we get one copy, like an employee would be, I'm curious about it. I want to check this out. And they get the book and then you're reading, you're like, yeah, this was crap. We don't need to order this for the store. But I was actually right there when all the books were coming in. I got to see if they're any good. And all the good ones went home with me, which was nice. And for a while, we're even doing used books. People would bring their old books back. So we get books that hadn't been in print, for a long time. So we'd have all these books. We're like, we got to see if we can't, put this one up on the used shelf, but also see if we can't find a way to get more copies of this to order and have on the shelf. Now that they used to have just the wall in the store. Yeah, they've turned them now so that they're coming out from the wall. So there's like 4 shelves coming out from the wall.
Wow.
They managed to fit more books in there. It's kind of crazy.
So, Denny, the question we were asking is, with all the lore out there, like in my time, because I lived in the Philippines from 97 until now, like you see anything with the Llewellyn or the Weiser book, it could be the Llewellyn handbook for making hand grenades. You're going to grab it. Because books were so rare. Amazon wasn't, a thing then. But then now, since lore is more available, I wanted to ask you, what is your personal technique in curating a book to decide, does this go in the Denis collection or does it go into the dumpster? So, like, what do you look out for when selecting books for your personal library?
Yeah, very, very nice question. I made a video not so long ago with 10 recommendations for beginner practitioners, and my secret weapon really is the Glitch Bottle podcast.
Great people.
Oh my word! Yes. I have it. It was quite formational for me listening to the guests that Alex F had on his show, and that gave me a starting point, really. Yeah, it gave me a starting point and gave me an idea whose opinions I respected, whose opinions I had an issue with, but nevertheless they had interesting things to contribute, and so that gave me a starting base, and from there I got some recommendations from the various stores that I shopped at, and that was mainly Watkins every time I was lucky enough to visit London, and after that, my social media feed got filled up with so many of the feeds of the various people that I was following, and particularly of their publishers, that I then get an idea of what was coming up next and what to look out for. Miskatonic books also, just checking out what was coming out, and you get a feel for what's going to be inside a book when you read the blurb from people who know what they're talking about, and those were the sources that I was lucky enough to find early on, and then I got a feel for what was new and what was just a rehash of the same thing since the 1980s kind of thing. And there's a lot of that, and so I've tried to keep my finger on the current pulse of where magic is kind of going, like the frontier, right? The front lines, without losing my my eye from where most people are. You know, most people aren't at the forefront. Most people are starting, and most people won't continue. You know, so that's where really the largest group of people who are practicing, that's where they are. They're at the beginning, and they'll give up. So it's quite a small group of people who will actually pursue it and go much further. But for some people, it's stronger than us, right? We can't help it. There is nothing more interesting. Yeah.
You know, that's one thing
I'm curious about one thing, though.
Go ahead.
Curious about one thing. The name, Foolish Fish.
Yeah, might as well.
That sounds like an inside joke for something. What is that?
Okay. Yeah, great question. And I get asked a lot. So Foolish Fish. My name is Denis Poisson. Denis is French for Denis, obviously. The root of the etymology of that name is adept of Dionysus. That's what Denis actually means, adept of Dionysus. And
okay.
Well, the Fool is the Dionysian card, you know, by excellence. It is the origin. It's the thing that happens before anything else. Is the numbers. It's the zero. If you have a look at the Crowley card, it's full of Dionysian symbology. It's got his anyway. So that the Fool as a card made sense to me. But I also liked the fact that it pointed to the importance of lightheartedness. Because, so much, I don't need to tell you, do I? So much of our world is just take ourselves so seriously
all the time.
That's
nobody.
Right.
That's the thing, though. That's actually what the world is right now. The world is extremely heavy-hearted.
Yeah.
About everything.
Yes.
Nobody would pass the Egyptian judgment. The thing where they weigh your heart against a feather. Yeah. Nobody would pass. And everybody's pissed off all the time about everything.
You know, this brings me to my next question I want to ask you, Denis. Since I'm sure you've come across a lot of books, I mean, I probably pity your reading list. It's just like, I'm back up till 2026. Was there ever a book that you were kind of at first dismissive of, but after reading it, you were like, oh my God, this thing is a game changer? It's like something that first you weren't really like, and then when you got into it, you just couldn't put it down.
That's a very, very good question. So many books are going through my mind right now.
Because, like, you know, one thing I like about your show is it's put, like I said previously, it's put me on the radar for books I would never have imagined looking at before. Like, one of them was The Benighted Path. The other one was the Icons deck. I mean, you make it so easily digestible. Now, as a reader, though, a person who reads books, practices magic, what can you say, though, about these authors? No names, please. I don't want to offend anyone, who do not write the way they sound. I'm sure you've come across these where sometimes you're reading them and you know they know what they're talking about, but you're fighting that urge to take the book and throw it against the wall because they're speaking some sort of, as you called it, obfuscated English.
Yeah. You know that it's a big bugbear of mine. I can understand why they do it, and there are many different reasons. Excuse me. There are many different reasons why they might do something like that, and the first would be that they don't know what they're talking about, right? That's probably the most common approach, right? They don't feel confident that what they have to say is going to be taken seriously, and so they write in a very, very obfuscated way is the correct word. But that's not all of them. That's not everyone, right? So there are some who have simply an academic background and who would not be taken seriously in an academic environment unless they used academic language. That means never using the first person singular. That means just having never having an active voice, which is crazy to me. You know, if you're writing for other people and you're always using the passive voice, you know. I hate it so much I can't come up with an example. This is done by that rather than this does that.
Okay, I get it.
It's that sense of detachment where you're reading the book and you feel like you're not actually involved in what's going on.
Exactly.
You're just observing something, so it doesn't really draw you in.
Precisely, which is kind of the point of academia. You know, they want to be seen to be impartial. They want to be seen to have removed themselves from the topic and to be giving just a very, very impartial view of what they're talking about. I mean that's great for peer-reviewed texts, but if you're writing for a general audience, that it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So that's the second group of people. Then there's a third group of people who will do this precisely to put you into a state of trance before dropping the truths, which is kind of very weird. I hate it, but it kind of works. And I've found a few like that, and you know that they're doing this because when they come to the stuff that they really want you to pay attention to, it's very clear. So it's like pages and pages and pages of this really dense stuff that, I mean, you know, you read the sentence 3 times and it's like, yeah, where was the subject? You know, like what's the grammar involved here, right? And then you're almost asleep, and then there'll be a sentence that'll be clear as day, and it's like, okay, that's actually what you were talking about, isn't it?
I can't wait for you to share that with me after the show. I'd love to see those authors.
Sure.
Now, it's actually going to lead me now.
We become like a society of NPCs where we watch a lot of TV, we watch a lot of movies, so we're used to spectating. So when you see somebody say, okay, I'm reading this book and it's narrated. Oh yeah, and by the way, here's your take home, and suddenly it just hits you right in the face because you're just so passive at that point from reading it that you just open to receiving whatever they want to throw at you, whether it's any good or not.
I don't want Denis to get any trouble, so I won't let him say the names. But definitely after the show, I'm going to get the list of these people. Now, this is the last topic I'm going to ask you before we go to the current event segment of the show. Are there any books, texts, practices that you will not touch? Like, nuh-uh, keep it away from me. Like, could be the Order of the 9 Angles or something like that, or God knows what. I'm not crapping on any.
I'm very lucky to say that I don't know a lot of the stuff that I wouldn't want to know. So you know, I've heard of anti-cosmic Gnosticism, and you know, anti-cosmic Satanism, and things like this, and the idea of well, what I understand is that these groups are political. They're not ideological. Well, they're not spiritual. Which I'm absolutely not interested in the political side of magic, precisely because I'm so aware of how toxic politics can be to any topic that is not politics, right? You try to have any conversation about anything and you bring politics in it, and that's it. Your conversation's gone. Your conversation is now politics. That's why on the Foolish Fish Discord, one of the rules is bring up politics. We will kick you out.
Politics there, boys and girls.
Politics has become the new religion now. That everybody wants their politics, and that's what killed Pantheacon. It's what kills a lot of things, because people come in there with this and they want to say, well, this is my way, this is my belief, you can't have anything else, I just won't relate to you. And we've quit looking past differences as learning experiences, started looking at different politics as the enemy.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot of good things.
Right. And far from me to say that we shouldn't be talking about politics. It's just that if we want to be talking about magic, we can't be talking about politics at the same time. True. Because politics will naturally take over the conversation. And there is it's an important thing that we do learn to talk about politics. But if we want to do that at the same time as talking about magic, then magic will never get talked about. So we
have a message coming in from the chat line. Somebody's asking, hello, Foolish Fish. I don't know why he called you that. His name is Denis. All right. He says,
it's okay. You can call me Foolish Fish. It's fine.
We call him Foolish Fish guy. Such a great curator of books, but are you ever going to come out with your own text? From Jimmy.
The eternal question. Do you know, I've started writing so many books. I have ADD, right? I have attention deficit disorder. I can't focus on one thing for long periods at a time unless I've decided to focus on it. No, I can't. That's the thing. I can't decide to focus on something. If something has grabbed my attention, then nothing else can grab my attention.
Like a book.
But for example, but I have quite a short attention span, so I can focus on a topic that I can choose to focus on a topic for, let's say, 3 weeks, right? And I will be passionate about that topic, and I will dig into it, and nothing else matters in my life. And then, okay, there's this other thing, right? So I start writing, and then after 2 weeks, I'm still writing, and I've got like, okay, I've hit like 10,000 words. All right, here we go. Keep going. I've 20,000 words. That's great. Okay, but there's this other topic now. And I don't care about what I was writing anymore. Okay, done with that. New book. Right, here we go. So, yeah, it's very, very tough for me. I just, I'll never stop writing, but I wonder if I'll ever finish writing.
I'd love to see him omnibus in a blog one of these days.
Again, wait, sorry.
No, you can put them in a blog. That way, it's you get 10,000 pages or 10,000 pages.
So what I do is,
okay, I'm done with this, and you just get to the end of that chapter in the blog, and it's like, and I'm done, and move on to something else.
I have a YouTube channel where every 2 weeks I talk about a new topic, and I write that. I spend a couple of days writing. Today I'm writing about the problems that come out of a Gnostic worldview. Right, that's going to be my next video, the problems and the ways we can fix that, so that people who have a Gnostic worldview, like as I do, don't have to give up their Gnostic worldview and still nevertheless have a positive experience of life. So that's the next thing that I'm working on. I'm writing it. I'm really enjoying writing it, and I'll make a video out of it, and it'll come out in the next few days. But then I'll move on to something else. So the format that I've found on my channel, yes, I do book reviews, but I also every 2 weeks put out some thoughts of my own, and that's kind of my way of managing to write. But to see that in a book, it might be some time. It might be.
Well, looking forward to that when it does happen. So that pretty much concludes the first segment of our show. The next is what we call current events. All right. Now, from the practitioner's point of view, this is where you can go no holds barred. All right. From a scholar, a reader, an occultist, we want to know, what do you think? Is occultism and magic on the rise? Are we getting our new golden age, or are we getting a bit too fluffed out? What do you think is the status of occultism, and where do you see it going in the next couple of years?
It's very interesting. At the moment, there's this excuse me, this general decision in the occult world that the paradigm that we've just left has been is what people are calling the psychological model. And this is something to be avoided at all cost, and leave it behind us, and so on and so forth. And it's always mentioned in the most dismissive possible ways. I believe that there was, in fact, at some point, something like the psychological model. I think that, for example, Israel Regardie, at the beginning of the Tree of, the Middle Pillar, is talking very much from that perspective, that we should be thinking of magic in purely psychological terms. That was happening on the basis that the world was embracing science. You know, it was just mid 20th century. Yes, science is the new way ahead. And so in order to get any kind of traction, in order to appeal to anyone, to be heard at all, people had to prove, to show that somehow they had a scientific point of view in the world. Leaving that behind, I think that's a good thing. I don't have an issue with that. However, Lon Milo Duquette, who's a big favorite of mine, has this subtitle to his book Low Magic, which is it's all in your mind, you just don't realize how big your mind is, right? And that is, in my opinion, what people are dismissing as the psychological model, without realizing that it's not actually the psychological model. There is that second part to that sentence. You just don't realize how big your mind is, which people still aren't realizing after being told that they don't realize how big their mind is. And this is what I was talking about earlier on in the show, when I was talking about the idealist perspective, that everything is mind, right? There is nothing outside of us that we can experience unless it is, first of all, processed through our brain, and for our brain to create an image of that for us, right? The image that our brain creates is the only thing that we can ever experience. So where are these entities who come to visit us? They're in the same place as my table and my bookshelf and everything else. Yes, it feels like it's out there, but the only thing that I can ever access is the image in my brain. So the image that my brain has created for me. Yes, sure, based on my senses. Yeah, probably, right? Most probably. But nevertheless, you know, when Stephen Skinner says, no, the entity was definitely in front of me. Yes, and so is everything else that you see. And yet everything is in your mind. You just don't realize how big your mind is, right? It's not that it's just bigger than you thought. It's everything. There is nothing but mind. So that for me is a direction that, yeah. So people are wanting to dissociate themselves from the psychological model, but in the process, I feel like they're moving away from an understanding of what the universe in fact is.
Mm-hmm.
That
so like, with that being said, like because like if we're gonna compare when I first met Wade at Ancient Ways bookshop in '97 to how magic and occultism has become now, Now, back then, you'd scrimp pennies just to get 1 or 2 books. Nowadays, there's PDFs, there's video courses. It's like the occult has not become so occult anymore. And I was telling Wade, I said, you know what I love about this guy in Foolish Fish is he's actually bringing back the old school occult stuff, because it's like, shit, I didn't even know these books existed. You know, some of these like Theon Press, amazing group of people, artistic looking books, and Atramitus Press, which is a pretty penny per book. I mean, they publish stuff that's very hard to come by. But the thing about it is, it kind of feels like the good old days where we'd have to hunt around for these books, for these obscure texts, and see, does this work with us or not? Because for the past 5-10 years, everything is PDF, YouTube, it's all available, and it made it mainstream. But the question I'm going to ask you is, will we be seeing a re-occultization of the occult? Or will it actually become like, will the Benighted Path, for example, become regular reading for the next generation of occultists?
I think that mass market publishers are starting to take more risks, which is great. They can't only take risks, of course. You know, you look at Llewellyn's lineup, and for one book that I would buy, there are maybe 20 that I wouldn't. But that's okay, because the ones that I wouldn't buy are the books that those beginners who are dipping their toes need to get under their belt. You know, they need to get it somehow, you know, before they start digging deeper. Because the ideas that come up in the let's say the more I don't know what word to use here. Advanced, hardcore. I don't know. Books. They tend to be worrying if you're not prepared for them, right? If you don't know the context within which they exist, then they can be worrying for some people. So I think it's okay that essentially the market is flooded with very tame stuff, but it's also really wonderful. But it's also wonderful.
It's like having a supermarket that's full of baby food. You know, people with babies are going to need that, but eventually you're looking for steak, you're looking for bratwurst, you know, you're looking for Brussels sprouts and bread.
Yes, that is the point. That is the point. But it's also nice to know that there are little independent stores that sell rabbit, you know, or whatever else, you know.
Exactly.
All right, this is what I wanted to ask. Well, I want to ask you about going into this, though. Do you predict in the next 5 years magic as a practice and as a lifestyle to become more mainstream? Or do you think it's going to actually creep back? Because the reason I'm asking this is because one of the reasons we created Magic.tv between me and Wade was we were saying we want to bring back the good old days. We want to talk about the days where like, oh, you did the middle pillar, then the lesser banishing. How did that work for you? Like, whoa! Instead of all this watered down, no, you're not practicing magic. You are manifestors. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You just gave us a pay cut here. So that being said, my fear is the serious practitioners, and I asked Aaron Leitch about this, was like, they might be like, well, what happened to all the good stuff? Like people are eating hamburger when we want filet mignon. You know, the real practitioners are kind of, they might just lose interest. And my fear is that like, there might not be an occult society or a magic society, or do you think it's going to grow?
I don't think that the magic practitioners who are beyond the hamburgers are going to quit, because the only risk that really exists here is that the vast, overwhelming tide of hamburgers is going to hide the filet mignons, as you said, right? And that's where I hope that I'm providing a service, is to say, okay, for those of you who've been enjoying your hamburgers, there's more. Right. That's kind of what I hope I can offer.
I'll just pass on the tofu burgers because those are out there too.
Yeah, that's tough.
right.
The
Yes,
Beyond
yes,
Meat
yes.
and stuff like that. We have Tiffany saying, I'm seeing magic have a huge resurgence in people. I wasn't expecting ceremonial magic and alchemy, especially, which is surprising. She's also saying, love Denis so much. Awesome. You guys are featuring him. We're equally awesome to have
Hi,
him here.
Tiffany.
So
Nice
thank you
to
very
see
much
you.
for that,
Thank you very
Tiffany.
much for being here.
So like, well, okay, that being said, because of course when you care about these practices, I mean, I see you care about these practices, Wade cares about them, I care about them, and I've here in the Philippines, because I'm part of the whole magical community scene here, I actually am a community organizer. The real practitioners of magic actually butt heads against the New Agers, because we're the ones seated talking about tomes, practices, techniques, and they're the ones like, no, it's all energy, and we can tap into this, and I can summon Lucifer and Metatron in the same room and kumbaya. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yes,
As in, you did not just say that. So do you ever see a bridge being made between like these magelings showing the proper respect to people like us? It's like they're the old guard, or are they going to take over?
I think that I think that they took over a long time ago. Yeah, but I don't think that they're harming the magical group, because the magical group know that what they have is suitable for them, and that's okay. I don't see our role as one where we have to make converts. Our role needs to be one where we are opening the practice to anyone who wants that practice. And it's not going to be many. It's not going to be many. I think that the pretty books can be attractive. I think that it can reel some people in. We've certainly got much prettier books than the New Age group, but that's all right. I think that some people just need New Age, and some people need magic, and I think that needs to be okay. There are more people who want New Age. It's a much more appealing prospect, right? Until you get into it and you get dropped out the bottom because there is no subside. I'm just bad mouthing them now, but yeah, I mean the outcome can't be constructive, right? It's based on hot air. So the thing is that it's not all hot air. There's some good stuff there as well, right? They don't necessarily have a model that fully works. Like, they don't really necessarily understand why the stuff that worked for them worked. But that's all right. They'll drop out the other side, and maybe they'll be interested in other ways, and we're more and more open as a magical group of people to share.
It kind of reminds me of something from the early 90s, a role-playing game I used to be very crazy about called Mage the Ascension. And that magic was just basically the core thing everybody was practicing, but everybody was practicing it in their own different way. So you had people from faith, from technology, from hermetic orders, but it was still magic. So I don't really like shit on other people's practices, but sometimes these fluffy bunnies like to look at me or Wade and say, devil worshiper. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We do business, but we don't worship any devils. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to give you a round of applause for that part. So we're going to go for our most favorite segment of the show right now, Occult X. Occult X is our very own TEDx segment where the guests on our show teach us something, anything. Just please, no baby sacrifices or anything like that. We've got bad publicity. But anything,
I need to change my plans.
Oh crap, man! Maybe next episode. But but that being said, anything you want to
teach tofu baby,
the tofu baby,
tofu baby.
Yeah.
So, Denis, what do you have for us tonight? What can we learn from you tonight?
I was going to talk about the Orphic hymns.
Wow, I'm just reading that book. That's amazing. Please continue.
Yes, and how I use the Orphic hymns. I do a ritual every day. At the end of every day, I perform an LBRP, and then I do a heptagram evocation in the way that I've described in my videos,
Mhm.
to the planetary energies, spirits, and intelligences of that day.
Okay.
And the way that I do it is that yes, I perform my heptagram, but then I guess quite recently I've started using the Orphic hymns, and I use them for the following reason: because they are chants. They're not poems. They're supposed to be chants, and I think of chanting as opening the door. You know, the way when you've got guests coming over and, maybe you haven't had guests for a little while. That certainly would be my case. And you look around and they're like, and you're like, okay, they're coming over, and like at the end of the day, I've got the morning and like the early part of the afternoon to get this flat in order. You can spend the whole day preparing your flat, like cleaning, getting everything ready, and so on and so forth, making everything look really nice, getting the right foods in, getting some beers in, etc., filling the fridge and so on. But then you will let the guests know that they can come. But if you don't open the door, then the conversation's going to be quite awkward. so this is my let's go with realization, is that it's all very well doing all the preparations, right? So ritual cleansing, making sure that you haven't consumed any alcohol, making sure that that you have the right implements, even, right, in certain cases, if you're getting involved with ceremonial magic and so on, with Solomonic magic and so on, but all of that is preparation. Now, we can think of the call as opening the door, but no, the call is the inviting in. If the door is closed, you can invite in all you like. They'll be like, well, we're trying.
There's a good story here.
That's right. Now, I'm going to draw on what I was saying earlier on, once again, about this idea that the universe has a mental quality, and say that opening the door needs to involve yourself, some physiological effect. And I noticed this in my very, very early days of exploring all of this, when I just read the Bible for the first time, specifically the New Testament, and I was looking for groups of people who might be of the same mind as I was, and I went from church to church to church to church, and going like, oh my God, like no one's actually bothered to read this, like these 4 tiny books in the middle of the Bible that actually talk about the teachings attributed to Jesus of Nazareth, right? But no, they were all really focused on their own thing. So I was going from church to church, and I went at some point to one church, which was a Pentecostal church, and they were singing and singing and singing and singing and singing. And by the time they got to the point where they were like doing actual worship, they were in a frenzy. And I thought to myself, this is very interesting from a physiological point of view. The singing actually decreases the amount of oxygen in your brain and increases the amount of carbon dioxide. Now, I was really into Aldous Huxley at the time. I just read The Doors of Perception, in which he talks about his experience with mescaline, and then he talks about why he had such an experience using mescaline. So mescaline erodes the not the hypothalamus, but the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain which filters out reality. right? It's the part of the brain regulates your physical functions. So it's the thing that keeps your heart beating. It's the thing that makes your digestive system work without you having to think about it, right? But in order to do this job, you can't have your mind entirely on the nature of the universe, and you can't have your mind permanently on the kinds of things that your mind goes to when your hippocampus is not working properly, when it's deprived of sugar. Mm-hmm. The same thing happens when it's deprived of oxygen, and so when that happens temporarily, with the use of mescaline in the case of Aldous Huxley, but this is exactly what happens when you underventilate, and underventilating is what happens when you sing for long periods at a time. You're taking very short in breaths and very long out breaths. You go in very quickly and then la la ba da da, and this is what they're doing, of course, when they're speaking in tongues. You hear these Pentecostal Christians, saying nonsense. And this, of course, has nothing to do with what's described in the Bible, where people were able to translate what they were saying, right?
But not unlike barbarous words.
Precisely.
Okay.
So this is exactly where I'm going. But barbarous words, of course, are well, no, that is precisely the point of barbarous words. Many people just, recite them, say them out, but no, the idea is to elongate them, to make them really long. The idea is to have this effect while you're talking about the entity that you're inviting, right? So whatever that or whoever or whichever that entity might be. So this is why the Orphic hymns are fantastic. They are a chant that you can perform, but you have to perform them it doesn't have to be sung, although singing does make it more interesting, and singing does actually have an awakening effect as well. But it's ultimately that it's a shamanistic, not to use the word shamanic, but it's a shamanistic effect and technique, right? You can associate with this the very traditional techniques of swaying and shaking at the same time, right? Swaying and shaking at the same time as you're reading these things, but that is it's a key that unlocks the door so that the conversation with the spirit can actually happen very, very easily. It's possible to have a conversation with a spirit that's on the other side of the door. It's a hell of a lot easier, if you do in fact open the door. There we go. That's my take.
And just question. So this approach, you do it through the Orphic hymns. You can do this with like any other spirit, like a Goetic or Enochian, anything like that. Oh,
for sure. The reason I'm talking about the Orphic hymns is because that's something that I use on a day-to-day basis when I'm speaking to the entities associated with the planet of the day. So if it's a Friday, I'll use the Orphic hymn to Aphrodite. Right, so because it's perfect, because the words are associated with the entity that you're inviting to your place, right? That you're inviting to work with you, to your home, in effect.
So that's amazing. So you could literally use this for like a Goetic summoning if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to. I would suggest that you may have to create some kind of chant that involves that Goetic being, but I think that a lot of the Solomonic invocations, the Solomonic prayers that precede the actual invocation are doing that.
Can this be also used with the Enochian calls?
I think that's what the Enochian calls are in fact about.
Okay, so there's really like a direct connection between the verbalization, the chanting, and the prolongation of the breath to kind of like thin the veil between you and whatever you're trying to communicate with, right?
Exactly.
Amazing. That's something I'm really going to give a try. And we were just looking through the Orphic Hymns book today, and it is a grimoire. It's just what kind of scared me was like the author said, if you're doing this in a group of people, it could turn into an orgy. So you better be careful. Like, oh, okay. Really epic. Wow. I'm really eager to give this a try, and I'm going to ask my editing crew to put this into a very, how do I say, easy to follow format. With the Orphic Grimoire, is there any particular grimoire or spirit there that you recommend safe to start with? Because I have seen some there that kind of spooked me out. And I don't think, like, there's this one with like a triangle that I don't think you want to be doing this off the bat with. Like, if I were to tell you first time I'm using the Orphic Grimoires in hymns, which one did you say, okay, Rob, give this one a try? It's a nice, safe bet.
I think that Mercury is very amenable, very friendly, very easy to work with. So Hermes, or Hermes, I think is and the call to Hermes is very nice, very beautiful, and as I say, he's a communicative spirit and very central to a lot of magic. Many people have two patron gods that they like to work with, Hecate and Hermes, and in fact, in some cases, even combine the two. But I think that Hecate can be a little more full on because of her background, because of I might even argue what she in fact is, Hermes Hermes also has a much deeper background than what first appears, but what most people associate Hermes with is very workable, very amenable, very ready to communicate. I mean, he's all about communication anyway, so. Yeah.
Well, that kind of suits his role as a psychopomp or as the messenger of the gods. There's a lot of different traditions. Like even in Palo, one of the first spirits you're given is Lucero, who's kind of like, he's your guy. You know how you have a guy for everything? He's your guy. He's the guy that gets you, the guy that gets you that, and he can put you in contact with all the other people. So like when you first get cut and you're a Tata and Kisi, they give you a Lucero before you get an actual Nganga. But the Lucero is kind of like your guy that connects you to your house's Nganga, the large pod. So that really does kind of work out in every tradition.
For Denis, before we wrap up, which is, you mentioned the chanting. I don't actually really chant like that, but I'm definitely going to give it a try now. But one thing I want to ask you, I'm sure the viewers are going to ask, would you recommend it while under the influence of mind-altering substances like DMT, alcohol, cannabis? Is it something, or will you recommend them to be super sober when they're on these?
I think that DMT, I've never taken DMT, but I've read all about it. I've read Dr. Rick Strassman's take on DMT, so I know whatever he has shared with the world, which is quite a lot. I would say that it's its own thing. I think that it's a key in itself and wouldn't necessarily involve ritual. The use of cannabis
or even alcohol.
Oh, certainly not alcohol. In fact, I would say that alcohol is generally recognized as a spirit inhibitor, and I've experienced that myself. Even just like a half glass of wine, and it's like no, I can't even read the tarot. But marijuana.
Where it's legal, remember, please don't.
Where it's legal, I was about to say. It's not legal where I am, so I haven't tried. I haven't tried, as in I haven't tried performing any rituals under its influence. I don't know. I tend not to be fully focused when I have tried marijuana. It's something that some people might feel they would like to experiment with.
It depends on the kind of marijuana too. I mean, I live in Humboldt County, and it falls out of the sky here. So you've got all the different kinds that you can work with. There's some that will basically shut you off and you just go lay down and watch cartoons. Other ones that they turn on your artistic side. So it really depends on what type of it.
What I will say is that when I did spend a little bit of time in New York in my student days, and I experimented quite extensively at the time, and had some great spiritual experiences, but they weren't how to say organized experiences. It's not really the word I'm looking for.
Seemed like chaotic.
Well, yes, it was more of a okay. I feel like doing this. This is what's coming to me right now. I feel like this is the right thing to do right now, rather than follow. Well, yes, it's spontaneous. That's right, rather than prescriptive.
I see. All right, so that was really, really informative. I've learned so much from you, Denis, and I just like to let you plug anything coming up your way, any workshops, any kind of things, your blog, whatever. Please let our viewers know about you, because we want to platform you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Robert. At the moment, I'm focusing quite a lot on the consultations that I'm giving. Anyone who wants to have a chat with me about whatever topic they think that I could possibly help with. That's what I'm having a lot of fun with at the moment. Some people are calling me for tarot consultations. We're always having a lot of fun with that as well. Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for booking that, Robert. That was great. And for people who have, the way I read the tarot is that I normally let the tarot tell us what it wants to tell us, right? What it thinks is most important for whoever I'm reading for at the time. Whenever a client has got a particular question, then we tend to crack out the I Ching, which is really, really nice for answering specific questions on a particular topic.
And where can we find out about your services? You have like a website and Instagram?
So all of that will be in the descriptions of all of my latest videos on the YouTube Foolish Fish channel. I put out at least 2 videos a week. It's at least 3 videos a week. That's about right at the moment. About 3 videos a week. I do a Thursday video where I'm talking about all the upcoming releases. I trawl the internet to find out what's new, what's on the horizon, so that's released every Thursday to Foolish Fish members. The memberships can happen through YouTube. You can click on the join button on YouTube, or there's a Patreon as well. And actually, Patreon give me a larger cut. If anyone's considering joining, then Patreon is definitely the favored option. That's me at the moment. There's going to be a tour of my full bookshelf in the next. I'm going to say within the next 5 weeks. I won't say exactly when, because I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to. I've got my Christmas tree all set up today, so I'm going to have to get that out of the way.
There's like no gifts down there. There's all books. So anyhow, Denis, you're really doing God's work, boys and girls. Foolish Fish podcast on YouTube. If you want to know about upcoming occult book releases, practices, and even some of the interesting stories of Denis, like how he manifested a ride home. I remember watching that one.
Yeah.
You could visit him on his Foolish Fish channel and stay up to date. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we have you. You're a mountain of knowledge, and me and Wade would want to cross-reference some of the things we learned and come across. And of course, I'm sure I have permission to send you messages and say, hey, Denis, have you checked this out? Because you're a researcher as much as I am, and we all learn from one another. So we're going to end the stream now, but please don't leave, because we have questions we want to ask you offline. And for a special guest, because I know Denis was such a fan, I'm going to be announcing right now who our final guest for season 1 is going to be. So stay tuned and watch.